Hey dudes, Reagan with Texas Defense Articulations again. Here, any of you guys who've shot with me or hung out with me or just sip whiskey around a fire with me have heard me talk about the M14 platform, M1A, whatever it is you want to call it. Big fan of these things. They were a kind of weapon system of my childhood, and never ever thought that I was going to be able to have the money to drop on one. Now I've got multiples with my big boy money that's come in over the last 20 some odd years. So here's the deal with these. I want to see how accurate I can get this without going into the glass bedding. Now I've heard people like M14 is not accurate. I'm like, and then you'll have people who have glass bedded stocks who are like, man, it's one hole, it's bolt gun accurate and all this sort of thing. I'm like, yep, that's cool. I probably will at some point do something like that. There are some downsides that come to glass bedding the stock. But at the same time, I was like, again, something I'm probably gonna do. But what can I do consistently as just a dude who doesn't have a gunsmithing background to see what kind of consistency I can get out of this rifle? So this is of course in 308, and yeah. I had it in the EBR chassis. It was a SOCOM initially that Fulton Armory had put together. Accuracy was absolute trash. 6 MOA and it would move. It was absolute trash. So I sent it to Ron Smith of Smith Enterprises, world renowned for their work. He put me a Criterion barrel in it. Him and Andy put the muzzle device here on, the adapter that they have, and then they swapped to their gas system, trigger job, all that sort of thing. Made this thing into a little bit more consistent. They put it into that EBR chassis for me again, sent it back, and several groups I did shoot sub MOA. I'm like, all right, cool, this is actually pretty great. This is a medium weight barrel, so it made that EBR even heavier than it already was. And then at some point I noticed, I'm like, my groups really are doing like best is like 1.5, and that sort of thing. So I was like, is that really worth this EBR chassis? So I took it off and I put it in this GI non-bedded stock just to see what the difference would be, and it's a lot more wieldy, a lot easier, especially with that medium weight barrel, to have it in this GI stock. If I've got to take one over a mountain, it's probably going to be this GI stock, just significantly lighter, especially when you start adding the optic, bipod, all that sort of thing. So I was like, all right, cool. Did not get crazy good accuracy out of it. I've got maybe a 1 MOA group. The most of them are going to end up being 1.5 to 2. Consistency stays about the same. Every now and then I got like a 3 MOA group. I'm like, what is, when I say this, I'm shooting 175 gold medal match. This one does like 175 better than it does 168s. And so I stock 175s because that's also what my LaRue OBR likes. So really and truly what I'm looking for is what kind of push button can I do? Like what's the easiest, quickest way to get consistent accuracy out of this thing? Because here's my big deal. I love shooting these platforms. I have 3 or 4 of them and I shoot them all. I've had an AR-10 platform, multiple AR-10 platforms, but I really only shoot one, and that's my LaRue OBR. It's unbelievably accurate. Took it out to 1,200 yards at K&M Precision here a couple years ago. Want to go back up there and do that with them, and it's 308, right? I am wanting to bite off on 6.5 Creedmoor. But I noticed even having multiple AR-10 platforms, I only shoot the one. Didn't really shoot. I had another LaRue 16-inch. Oh, this will be my clip. I never shot it. Ended up selling it because I didn't ever shoot it. But again, I shoot all these M14 platforms. Since I'm wanting to bite off on 6.5 Creedmoor, I see people getting good accuracy online out of the 6.5 Creedmoor and the M14 platform. I want to know where it comes from so that I can kind of plan, and I'm going to do probably a custom build unless something falls in my lap, because Ron Smith has shown that he has the capability of getting these barrels in 6.5 Creedmoor, and I'm thinking maybe even like a 16-inch 6.5 Creedmoor barrel and an M14 platform. Be pretty great. May end up going with an 18, not really sure, but I know a lot of guys are starting to go to those 6.5 Creedmoor barrels that are getting a lot shorter. So if I could get super accuracy out of 308, it should be even better in 6.5, and that would allow me to bite off on that round, because I don't stock it, therefore it's not something I care about, but I am wanting to train a little more with 6.5 Creedmoor. And baseline is I don't like bolt guns, man. Nothing wrong with them. If that's your jam, fantastic. I've watched dudes with decently cost-effective semi-auto guns walk all over dudes with like unbelievable competition bolt guns, even in the accuracy department. So it's not that you can't make those more accurate. I just find that it's just not going to be my jam. I'm just not going to shoot it. And the bottom line is, if I'm not going to shoot it, I've got no care to own it. I got plenty of other things that I actually enjoy shooting, so I'm going to do that. So we're going to see how this works. This unbedded GI stock, I'm going to have some video of me shooting groups with it. I've got a ProMag Archangel stock showing up. I'm going to jam it in there, zero it, and shoot some groups with it and see if I can get some more consistency out of it, which is weird because I've never been a fan of the ProMag stuff, but I see a lot of dudes getting pretty good stuff out of that, so out of that particular stock. So we're going to see how it goes, and I'll give you a conclusion. All right, got the ProMag stock in and dropped the rifle into it. I did watch some videos before I ever ended up purchasing the stock and getting it shipped in, and so I ended up making sure that it had this spacer in it. When I watched the videos, they're like, hey, ProMag's like, we'll send you one of these if you buy a used one or something like that to keep the action or the stock nice and open where your action goes in there easily, because that nylon starts pulling around that action, which is what you want it to do later on. That's how any of the stocks on a non-free floated gun are going to get zero, is they're nice and tight in there and there's no movement, because typically the inaccuracy comes from it rocking and rolling inside of the stocks, like the GI stock that's not got any bedding or anything like that in it. So dropped it in there, no huge deal in there. Had plenty of tension when I went to sandwich that trigger guard down, and so it did quite well. I did do a hasty zero, just to kind of get it into position so I could shoot groups. I wasn't worried about like blowing out the red dot in the middle of the targets. I was worried about creating as tight a group as I possibly could. And this is a 2.5 to 10 scope, so I could probably do maybe a little bit better if I had a little bit more field or a little bit more magnification, but it's still plenty good to be shoot. I shoot sub M1A groups with a 1 to 6 all the time at 100 yards, so I'm not super concerned about the scope on that. So, and it's the same one that was on the GI stock. Something different, definitely I wanted to bring up is the stock is not lightweight. It's not like super heavy or anything like that, but I believe it to be within 1.5 pounds of the EBR stock. So that's something you should probably be aware of, because the GI stock way lighter, right? So handling, the way it handles, yes, this little pistol grip setup like here, this is kind of an old school methodology. I do actually really prefer this over just the straight pistol grip. And you got this nice little shelf back here for you to rest your thumb on. That's something I like to do specifically. I don't like to unwrap my thumb on a semi-auto like you see dudes do on bolt guns all the time, because I've even seen like really experienced and really well-known dudes bump fire a friggin' heavier caliber. It's not an issue with certain other calibers, but you put a heavy one on there, you get that recoil, you tend to send rounds downrange you didn't mean to, and so I don't like doing that. So I like to put my thumb right there. Seems pretty nice. You got the adjustable cheek rest, makes for a more consistent positioning. People are probably going to call me out on the GI one because I did have a cheek rest on it. I have it sitting a little bit lower, and it's specifically like I don't like jam way up into my cheek, and I shoot out to great distances all the time, well, like that. So you don't need to tell me that you think that's where the inaccuracy comes from, because it doesn't. So, and I can prove it, and I'll be more than happy to show a video of me shooting out to 1,000 yards with a 308 that also people say can't happen. It's really weird. Anyway, so did this improve accuracy? Absolutely it did. I shaved about 0.4 inches off of my average group. My average group with the GI stock was 2.57. With this one it was 2.16. And two of my groups were actually significantly tighter. So I ended up shaving that off. It did increase that accuracy, but I feel like it's going to get a little bit better because it's only been sitting in this stock for a day. Should take a couple weeks and it starts really sandwiching around that action. And I shoot a little bit more, it'll settle into the stock, hopefully get a little more accuracy. If I do get more accuracy out of it, so if I can get this close to 1 inch, then I'm definitely going to bite off on 6.5 Creedmoor, because I think I'm going to get even better accuracy out of that. And I may even start with it in one of these stocks. Eventually, though, I'll probably end up going to a Macmillan stock. It's just proving that you can get better accuracy out of these guns that people like to trash talk all the time. So, is this the way to go? Like, it is a way to go. It's a pretty cost-effective way to get a little more accuracy out of your rifle. I like that option. And then, if you decide later you're going to jump it into a Macmillan, or you're going to learn how to bed a wood stock, or however you want to do, because I do hear guys like dropping single hole groups all the time with these guns that tend to be embedded stocks, right? So if that's going to be your jam, hey, this is a nice stopgap to get you there, and you can enjoy the rifle while you're waiting on figuring out how to do that. So definitely a decent option. So yeah, hope this helps you guys as much as it did me.